The ink bleeds onto the paper like tears she cannot stop. Outside, Chicago glitters with holiday lights, but inside this cramped apartment, December 24th, feels like the darkest night of the year. Clara Mitchell's hand trembles as the pen scratches across the final line of the divorce agreement. 8 years. 8 years of marriage reduced to a signature on a cold Wednesday evening while snow falls silently over the city. She sets the pen down and stares at the document. Her reflection catches in the window, pale skin, dark circles under green eyes that once sparkled with dreams. At 31, she looks older, exhausted, broken in ways that paperwork cannot begin to describe. The apartment is small, barely 600 square feet, in a building that has seen better decades. The radiator clanks and hisses, fighting a losing battle against the winter chill. Clara pulls her cardigan tighter around her shoulders and watches her breath form small clouds in the air. The heat bill arrived yesterday. She cannot afford it. She cannot afford much of anything anymore. Her phone buzzes. A message from her lawyer. Documents received. Filing tomorrow. Merry Christmas. The words feel like a cruel joke. There is nothing merry about this Christmas. There is nothing merry about signing away the life she thought she would have. Clara remembers the wedding, a courthouse ceremony, quick and practical, because Daniel said they did not need the expense of a big celebration. She wore a simple white dress she found on sale. He wore the same suit he wore to work. There were no flowers, no music, no dancing, just 2 signatures on a different set of papers and a promise she believed would last forever. She was 23 then, young, hopeful, convinced that love conquered all, that Daniel's ambition would carry them both to something better. He was handsome, confident, working his way up in a financial firm downtown. He talked about the future like it was a territory waiting to be conquered. She believed every word. The early years were not terrible. Small apartment, tight budget, but they made it work. Clara took a job as a nurse at a community clinic, long hours for modest pay, but she found purpose in helping people who had nowhere else to turn. Daniel climbed the corporate ladder, each promotion bringing nicer restaurants and promises of the life they would eventually have. But somewhere along the way, the promises turned hollow. The promotions brought longer hours, more travel, more distance between them. Daniel stopped coming home for dinner, stopped asking about her day, stopped looking at her like she was the woman he had chosen to build a life with. Then came the affairs. The first one she discovered by accident, a receipt for jewelry she never received, perfume on his collar that was not hers. She confronted him, and he apologized. Swore it meant nothing, swore it would never happen again. It happened again, and again. Each time he had the excuse, stress at work, feeling unappreciated. Her fault for not being attentive enough, attractive enough, present enough. She started to believe him, started to think that maybe if she tried harder, cooked better meals, lost those last 10 pounds, smiled more, complained less, maybe then he would love her the way she needed to be loved. She lost herself in the trying, lost her friends, her confidence, her sense of who she was before she became Daniel's wife. The woman in the mirror became a stranger, someone small and apologetic, someone who walked on eggshells in her own home. The final blow came 6 months ago. She found the emails. Not just one affair, but several, ongoing for years. Women from his office, women from conferences, women whose names she did not recognize and whose faces she did not want to imagine. The betrayal was so vast, so systematic, that it knocked the breath from her lungs. She confronted him one last time. He did not apologize. Instead, he laughed. Actually, laughed. Told her she was naive to think she could ever keep a man like him satisfied. Told her she was lucky he had stayed this long. Told her she should be grateful. Clara filed for divorce the next morning. The process has been brutal. Daniel, it turns out, has very good lawyers. Lawyers who have spent the past 6 months hiding assets, delaying proceedings, and making her life as difficult as possible. The settlement she will receive is a fraction of what she deserves, barely enough to cover 3 months' rent in this crumbling apartment. But tonight on Christmas Eve it is finally over. The papers are signed. The marriage is ending. Clara should feel relieved. Instead, She feels hollow, like someone has scooped out everything inside her and left only the shell. She pours herself a glass of cheap wine, the only thing in the refrigerator besides leftover takeout, and raises it in a mock toast. To new beginnings, she thinks bitterly. To starting over with nothing at 31. The wine tastes like defeat. Her phone buzzes again. This time it is a text from her mother. Still hoping you'll reconsider and come home for Christmas. Your father misses you. We all do. Clara types and deletes a response 3 times. She cannot face them. Cannot face the pity in their eyes, the silent judgment, the way her sisters will exchange looks when they think she is not watching. Her mother never approved of Daniel, and going home now would mean admitting that she was right. That Clara wasted 8 years of her life on a man who never deserved her. She sets the phone aside without responding. Outside, the snow falls harder. The street below is empty. Everyone tucked inside with their families, their presents, their warmth. Clara presses her palm against the cold glass and watches her handprint fog and fade. Tomorrow is Christmas. She will spend it alone. The thought should devastate her, but she has passed beyond devastation into something quieter and more final. Acceptance, perhaps, or resignation. The understanding that this is her life now. A small apartment, an empty refrigerator, a career that pays just enough to survive, and no one waiting for her to come home. She finishes the wine and debates opening another bottle, decides against it. The last thing she needs is to wake up on Christmas morning with a hangover and nothing to show for it. Instead, she makes herself a cup of tea, the fancy kind her sister sent for her birthday, which she has been saving for a special occasion. This seems special enough, the end of everything she thought her life would be. Clara sits by the window with her tea and watches the city. Somewhere out there, families are gathering. Children are shaking presents. Couples are stealing kisses under mistletoe. Somewhere out there, people are happy. She wonders if she will ever be happy again. Wonders if she was ever truly happy to begin with, or if she just convinced herself she was because the alternative was too painful to consider. The tea grows cold in her hands. At 11 o'clock she hears footsteps in the hallway. Her neighbor, Mrs. Patterson, returning from midnight mass at the church down the block. The elderly woman pauses outside Clara's door. "Merry Christmas, dear," she calls through the thin walls. Clara forces brightness into her voice. "Merry Christmas, Mrs. Patterson." There is a moment of silence, then the shuffle of footsteps continuing down the hall. Mrs. Patterson is the closest thing Clara has to a friend in this building. They share tea sometimes, talk about the weather, complain about the landlord, small comforts in an increasingly comfortless world. Clara rinses her teacup and prepares for bed. The sheets are cold, the mattress old and sagging. She bought new bedding when she first moved in, trying to make the space feel like home. The effort feels laughable now. She lies in the darkness and listens to the building settle around her. The creak of pipes, the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of traffic on the street below. Somewhere a dog barks, somewhere else a car alarm wails briefly and falls silent. Sleep comes slowly, in fragments. She dreams of the wedding that never was, the one she imagined when she was young with flowers and music and a dress that made her feel like a princess. In the dream, she walks down the aisle toward a groom whose face she cannot see. Just before she reaches him, she wakes. Christmas morning arrives grey and cold. The snow has stopped, but the sky hangs low and heavy, threatening more. Clara makes coffee in her tiny kitchen and stares at the divorce papers still sitting on the table. She should mail them. The sooner they are filed, the sooner this chapter of her life will officially close. But something keeps her rooted to the spot, unable to move, unable to act. Her phone rings. The clinic. She answers, already knowing what they will ask. "Clara, I know it's Christmas, but we're short-staffed. And there's been a pile-up on the highway. Multiple casualties. We need everyone who can come in." She does not hesitate. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. Work. At least there is work. At least there she can be useful, can focus on something other than the wreckage of her personal life. At least there she is, Clara the nurse, not Clara the divorcee, not Clara the woman whose husband found her so lacking that he sought comfort in the arms of countless others. She dresses quickly, scrubs, comfortable shoes, her warmest coat. The divorce papers go into a drawer. She will deal with them later. Right now, someone needs her. The clinic is chaos when she arrives. The accident was worse than reported. A bus carrying holiday travelers collided with a delivery truck on an icy overpass. The emergency room is overflowing. Patients in the hallways, doctors shouting orders, the metallic smell of fear and urgency thick in the air. Clara throws herself into the work. She triages patients, starts IV lines, holds hands and offers comfort to those waiting their turn for treatment. Her own pain fades into the background, replaced by the immediate needs of people whose Christmas has become a nightmare. Hours pass in a blur. By mid-afternoon, the worst of the crisis has subsided. The most critical patients have been stabilized or transferred to larger hospitals. The hallways begin to empty. Clara takes a 5-minute break in the supply closet, leaning against shelves of gauze and antiseptic. Her eyes closed. Her feet ache. Her back screams. But there is something almost peaceful about the exhaustion, a physical tiredness that drowns out the emotional pain she has been carrying for months. Her phone vibrates, a text from Daniel. "Got the papers, good riddance." She stares at the message for a long moment, then deletes it without responding. He does not deserve her energy, not anymore. The rest of her shift passes uneventfully. By 8 o'clock, she is finally free to leave. The night nurse takes over, and Clara gathers her things and steps out into the cold. The city looks different at night. Christmas lights reflect off the snow, creating pools of color on the white ground. The streets are quieter now, most people home with their families, their celebrations winding down. Clara walks toward the bus stop, her breath clouding in the frigid air. She is halfway there when she sees the car. It is parked at the curb, sleek and black, the kind of vehicle that does not belong in this neighborhood. A Mercedes, she thinks, or maybe a BMW. Something expensive, something powerful, something that speaks of a world far removed from her small apartment and her modest salary. The driver's door opens, and a man steps out. He is tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair and eyes that catch the streetlight like fragments of obsidian. His coat is black, tailored, expensive. Everything about him radiates authority, the kind of confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and exactly what you are capable of. Clara's steps slow. She does not recognize him, but something about his presence makes her uneasy. There is danger here, she thinks. Danger wrapped in expensive fabric and careful silence. The man speaks. His voice is low, controlled, each word precise. "Clara Mitchell." She stops walking. Her heart beats faster, though she cannot explain why. "Who's asking?" He studies her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Then, so quietly she almost misses it. "My name is Marcus Ricci, and I believe you just signed divorce papers from my brother." The words hit her like a physical blow. Brother. Daniel has a brother she never knew existed, standing on a frozen Chicago street on Christmas night, watching her with eyes that hold secrets she cannot begin to imagine. "Daniel doesn't have a brother," she says, but even as the words leave her mouth, she knows they are not true. She knows because Daniel never talked about his family, never introduced her to relatives, never mentioned parents or siblings or anything from his past. She accepted it, assumed there was pain there, assumed he would share when he was ready. He never did. And now she understands why. Marcus Ricci takes a step closer. "There is a great deal about Daniel that you don't know, things he kept hidden, things that involve you more deeply than you realize." Clara's instincts scream at her to run, to get on the bus, go home, lock the door, and pretend this encounter never happened. But something holds her in place, curiosity perhaps, or the desperate hope that there is more to her story than 8 wasted years and a stack of divorce papers. "What are you talking about?" she asks. Marcus reaches into his coat and withdraws a photograph. He holds it out to her, waiting. After a long moment, Clara takes it. The image is old, slightly faded, a wedding photo. A young couple standing before an altar, the bride in white, the groom in a dark suit. She looks at the faces and feels the ground shift beneath her feet. The bride is her. The groom is Marcus. "That's impossible," she whispers. "I've never seen you before in my life." Marcus's expression does not change. 10 years ago, you married a man named Daniel Ricci. Except Daniel Ricci does not exist. He is a fiction, an identity created by my younger brother to escape his obligations and to steal you from me. Clara's head spins. The photograph trembles in her hand. "This doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense." "It will," Marcus says quietly. "But not here, not on the street. Come with me, and I will explain everything." Every rational part of her mind screams, "No." Do not get into a car with a stranger. Do not follow a man who claims impossible things. Do not trust, do not believe, do not hope. But Clara Mitchell has spent 8 years being careful, being safe, being small. And where has it gotten her? A failed marriage, a cold apartment, a Christmas spent alone. Maybe it is time to be something else. She meets Marcus Ricci's eyes. "If you're lying to me, I will make you regret it." Something flickers across his face, surprise perhaps, or something closer to respect. "I have never lied to you, Clara. Not once. That is more than my brother can say." Clara takes a breath. Then she walks toward the car. The door opens. The warmth inside beckons. Beyond the frosted windows, the city glitters with Christmas lights, beautiful and cold and indifferent to the ordinary dramas playing out in its streets. Clara steps inside. The door closes behind her, and as the car pulls away from the curb, she realizes that whatever comes next, her life will never be the same. Check if you're already subscribed to this channel. These stories are journeys of transformation, and when you subscribe, you become part of a community that believes in second chances, in love that survives against all odds. Hit that subscribe button and join us. The drive takes them north, away from the crowded streets and cramped apartments, toward neighborhoods where houses grow larger and lots grow wider. Clara watches through the window as the landscape transforms, brick bungalows giving way to Tudor revivals, giving way to sprawling estates hidden behind iron gates. Marcus does not speak. He sits beside her, his presence solid and watchful, his gaze occasionally shifting to check the mirrors or study the road ahead. The driver, a stocky man with a shaved head and careful eyes, navigates the icy streets with practiced confidence. Clara's mind races. The photograph sits in her lap, that impossible image of a wedding she does not remember. She looks at her own face in the picture, younger but unmistakably her, and tries to find some trace of the memory. There is nothing, only blankness where something should be. "How is this possible?" she asks finally, her voice barely above a whisper. "I don't remember any of this." Marcus turns to look at her. In the dim light of the car, his features soften slightly, losing some of their sharp edges. "What do you remember about the weeks before you met Daniel?" Clara thinks back. She was 22, fresh out of nursing school, working her first job at a hospital downtown. She remembers the exhaustion, the excitement, the overwhelming sense of finally being an adult with a real career. She remembers meeting Daniel at a coffee shop near the hospital, his easy smile, his confident charm. But before that, the weeks before, the memory is hazy. There was a trip, she thinks, a conference or a vacation. She cannot quite grasp it. The details slip away like water through her fingers. "I don't know," she admits. "It's fuzzy, like trying to remember a dream." Marcus nods slowly. "That is because those memories were taken from you." The words hang in the air between them, heavy and impossible. "Taken?" Clara repeats. "What do you mean, taken?" "There are substances," Marcus says carefully, "that can affect memory, make you forget, make you believe that certain things never happened while other things are invented to fill the gaps. My brother, the man you knew as Daniel, used one of these substances on you." Clara's stomach drops. She thinks of all the times she questioned herself during the marriage, all the times Daniel told her she was remembering things wrong, that conversations never happened, that she was imagining problems that did not exist. She thought it was her fault, thought she was going crazy. "He made me forget you," she says slowly. "He made me forget that I was already married." "Yes. Why?" The question comes out raw, stripped of politeness or pretense. Clara needs to understand, needs to know why her life became a lie, why 8 years disappeared into the possession of a man who never loved her, never even saw her as fully human. Marcus is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is quieter than before. "Because I am the head of a family that operates outside the law. A family my brother wanted to destroy. And you, Clara, you were the one thing he knew would hurt me most to lose." The car turns onto a private road lined with bare trees. Ahead, lights glow in the darkness. A house, impossibly large, rising against the night sky like a fortress of stone and glass. "You're telling me you're in the Mafia," Clara says flatly, "and that your brother stole me to get back at you." "I am telling you that I loved you," Marcus says, "that I married. You promised to protect you, built a life with you that my brother envied. And when he could not have what I had, he decided to take it." The car stops before a set of massive iron gates. The driver presses something on the dashboard, and the gates swing open, revealing a sweeping driveway that curves toward the main entrance. Clara does not move. Her hand rests on the door handle, but she cannot bring herself to open it. "If all of this is true," she says slowly, "why didn't you come for me sooner? Why wait 8 years? Marcus looks at her with something that might be pain. "Because for 8 years I thought you were dead. My brother told me there was an accident, showed me evidence, held a funeral. I grieved you, Clara. I tried to move on with my life, but I never stopped loving the memory of you." "Then how did you find out?" 3 months ago, one of my associates saw you entering a clinic downtown. He recognized you from photographs, the ones I could never bring myself to destroy. He followed you, confirmed your identity, and brought me the news that my wife was alive." Clara closes her eyes. The information is too much, too fast, a flood of revelations that threatens to drown her. "So for 3 months, you've been watching me," she says, "waiting." "Waiting for the right moment," Marcus confirms. "Waiting until you were free of him. Tonight, when you signed those papers, you ended the false marriage. Now I can tell you the truth." The truth. Clara is not sure. She knows what that word means anymore. Everything she thought was real has been revealed as a lie. The husband she trusted was a fraud. The life she built was based on stolen memories. Even her own mind has been compromised, rewritten by chemicals and manipulation. She opens her eyes and looks at the house before her. It is beautiful, she realizes. Stone walls covered in dormant ivy, tall windows glowing with warm light, snow blanketing the grounds like a white quilt. It looks like something from a fairy tale, a place where happily ever afters might actually come true. But Clara stopped believing in fairy tales a long time ago. "I need time," she says. "I need to process all of this." Marcus nods. "Take all the time you need, but know that you are safe here. Whatever you decide, whatever you remember or choose to forget, I will not force you into anything." Clara meets his eyes. There is sincerity there, she thinks, or something that looks like it. After years of lies, she is not. Sure, she can trust her own judgment anymore, but she is also tired. Tired of the cold apartment, tired of being alone, tired of pretending that her life is fine when every part of it feels like it is falling apart. She opens the car door and steps out into the snow. The cold air bites at her cheeks, but she barely notices. She is focused on the house, on the lights in the windows, on the man walking beside her toward the entrance. The door opens before they reach it. Warmth spills out, accompanied by the smell of something cooking. Roast turkey, she thinks, and fresh bread. A woman in a black dress stands in the doorway, her expression carefully neutral. "Mr. Ricci," she says, "welcome home. The guest room has been prepared." Marcus nods. "Thank you, Elena. Please make sure Mrs. Ricci has everything she needs." Mrs. Ricci. The name hits Clara like a blow. She is not Clara Mitchell anymore. According to this man, she never was. She follows Marcus into the house, her footsteps echoing on marble floors. The interior is everything the exterior promised. High ceilings, elegant furnishings, artwork that probably costs more than she will earn in a lifetime. It should feel cold, all this wealth and grandeur. Instead, it feels strangely welcoming, as if the house itself is glad to see her, or perhaps that is only wishful thinking. Elena leads her up a sweeping staircase to the second floor. The guest room is larger than her entire apartment, with a four-poster bed, a sitting area by the window, and an ensuite bathroom she can only glimpse through a half-open door. There are clothes in the wardrobe, Elena says. If you need anything else, the phone by the bed connects directly to the kitchen. Dinner will be served in an hour. Clara nods, unable to find words. When Eleanor leaves, closing the door softly behind her, Clara sinks onto the edge of the bed and finally allows herself to breathe. Morning light streams through the tall windows, catching on crystal, fixtures and pooling in golden rectangles across the floor. Clara wakes slowly, disoriented by the silence, by the softness of the bed, by the absence of traffic noise and radiator clanks. For a long moment, she does not remember where she is. Then it all comes back. The divorce papers, the mysterious stranger, the impossible photograph, the house that feels like a dream she cannot wake from. She sits up and looks around the room. In daylight, it is even more beautiful than she remembered. Pale blue walls, white trim, fresh flowers on the nightstand that she did not notice last night. Someone has been here while she slept, adding these small touches of warmth. Her clothes from yesterday are gone. In their place, she finds a silk robe draped over a chair, and a note in elegant script. Please join us for breakfast when you're ready. E. Clara stands and walks to the window. The view takes her breath away. Snow-covered grounds stretching toward a frozen lake, bare trees standing, like sentinels against the pale sky. In the distance, she can see the iron gates where she entered last night. They seem miles away now, separating this world from everything she used to know. She showers in the enormous bathroom, marveling at the heated floors, the rainfall showerhead, the endless supply of hot water. Her own apartment rarely had enough hot water for a full shower. This feels like luxury beyond imagination. The wardrobe, as Elena promised, contains clothes, not her own, but new items that seem selected with her size and taste in mind. Clara chooses simple things: black pants, a cream sweater, sensible flats. She does not want to look like she is trying too hard to fit into this world. When she is ready, she opens the bedroom door and steps into the hallway. The house is quiet. She follows the sound of distant voices and the smell of coffee until she finds a sunlit breakfast room overlooking a garden. Marcus is there, seated at a long table covered with more food than 3 people could possibly eat. He looks different in daylight, less imposing, more human. He wears a simple grey sweater instead of last night's tailored coat, and there are lines around his eyes that suggest sleepless nights. "Good morning," he says, rising as she enters. "I hope you slept well." "Better than I have in months," Clara admits. She takes the seat he indicates across from him and accepts the cup of coffee that Elena pours. "This is all very overwhelming." Marcus nods. "I imagine it is. I've had 3 months to prepare for this conversation. You've had 12 hours. Clara wraps her hands around the warm cup and studies his face. She is looking for something. Deception, maybe, or the cruelty she grew accustomed to seeing in Daniel's eyes. But all she finds is patience, concern, perhaps even hope. "Tell me about us," she says. "Tell me how we met. Tell me about the life I don't remember." Marcus sets down his fork and leans back in his chair. His gaze grows distant, focused on something only he can see. "We met at a gallery opening," he begins. "A mutual friend invited you. I saw you standing in front of a painting, some abstract piece I didn't understand, and you were crying. I asked if you were all right. You said the painting reminded you of loss, of beauty that exists only for a moment before it disappears. I told you I didn't see it. You said that was because I wasn't looking hard enough." Clara listens, searching for any spark of recognition. The story feels like it could be true, could be hers, but the memory remains locked away, inaccessible. "What happened next?" she asks, I asked you to dinner. You said no. You said you didn't date strangers you met at gallery openings. But you gave me your number anyway, and I called you the next day and the day after that, and every day for 3 weeks until you finally agreed to have coffee with me. A small smile plays at the corner of his mouth. You were stubborn. I liked that about you. You didn't care about my money or my family name. You challenged me, questioned me, refused to be impressed by things that impressed everyone else. Clara feels something stir in her chest. Not memory exactly, but something adjacent to it. A sense of familiarity, as if hearing a song she cannot quite place. And the wedding, she asks. 6 months later, we married in a small chapel upstate. Only family and close friends. You insisted on keeping it simple. You said the ceremony didn't matter. What mattered was the life we would build together. He pauses and something painful flickers across his face. That life lasted 18 months. Then my brother took you from me. Clara sets down her coffee cup. Her hands are trembling, and she does not want him to see. How did it happen? How did this all happen? Marcus is silent for a long moment. When he speaks, his voice is heavy with old grief. There was a family gathering. My brother had been estranged for years. We disagreed about how the family business should be run, but he reached out, asked for reconciliation. I wanted to believe people could change, so I invited him back into our lives. He shakes his head slowly. I should have known better. During the gathering, he slipped something into your drink. You collapsed. When you woke, you didn't remember me. Didn't remember any of us. He had already arranged to have you transported to a hospital on the other side of the country where doctors were paid to confirm his story, that you were his fiancée, that you had been in an accident, that the memory loss was permanent. Clara's blood runs cold. The clinical precision of it, the careful planning, the willingness to destroy another person's entire existence. It sounds exactly like Daniel. The man she married was capable of great cruelty, she knows now, but this goes beyond anything she imagined. And you believed I was gone, she says. He showed me a body, a woman who looked enough, like you in the aftermath of an accident. I identified her, I buried her. I spent 7 years grieving a wife who was living another life just 300 miles away. The pain in his voice is raw, unguarded. Whatever else Marcus Ricci might be, criminal, dangerous, powerful, he is also a man who has suffered. Clara recognizes the particular weight of that suffering because she carries something similar herself. Why didn't I try to escape, she asks. Why didn't I question Daniel's story? If the memories were erased, why didn't I sense that something was wrong? The substance he used doesn't just erase memories, Marcus explains. It creates false ones. Your mind filled in the gaps with whatever he suggested. A different past, a different meeting, a different love story. You had no reason to doubt what you believed you knew. Clara thinks about the early years of her marriage, how certain she was that Daniel was her destiny, how quickly she fell into the rhythm of their life. Together, never questioning, never looking back, she assumed that certainty was love. Now she wonders if it was chemistry, the literal, pharmaceutical kind. This is insane, she whispers. All of this is completely insane. I know, Marcus says gently, and I know you have no reason to believe me. That's why I want to show you something. He stands and offers his hand. After a moment's hesitation, Clara takes it. He leads her through the house, past rooms she glimpsed last night, and others she has never seen. They climb another staircase, turn down a hallway lined with family portraits, and stop before a closed door. This was our room, Marcus says. I haven't changed anything. Couldn't bring myself to. He opens the door. Clara steps inside and feels the world tilt beneath her feet. The room is beautiful. A large bed with a blue velvet headboard, windows overlooking the lake, a sitting area with well-worn furniture that suggests years of use. But it is the details that steal her breath. A photograph on the nightstand of Marcus and a woman who is unmistakably her, laughing at something beyond the camera's view. A collection of books on the shelf, medical texts, nursing journals, novels she would have chosen herself. A jewelry box on the dresser that, when she opens it, contains a simple gold locket with a small emerald at its center. She touches the locket, and something in her mind shifts. Not a memory, exactly. More like an echo. The sensation of this chain around her neck, the weight of this pendant against her collarbone, Marcus standing behind her, fastening the clasp, pressing a kiss to her shoulder. "The emerald matches your eyes," she whispers. She does not know where the words come from. They simply appear, rising from somewhere deep inside. Marcus goes very still. "That's what I said when I gave it to you." Clara closes her eyes and waits for more, but the echo fades, leaving only silence and the faint smell of cedar that permeates the room. "I want to believe you," she says finally. "I want to believe that there's some explanation for everything that went wrong in my life. But I'm scared. I've been lied to so many times. I don't know if I can trust anything anymore." Marcus approaches her slowly, as if she is a wild creature that might bolt at any sudden movement. "You don't have to trust me," he says. "Not yet. But stay. Give yourself time to explore, to ask questions, to find your own answers. Whatever you discover, whatever you decide, I will accept it." Clara opens her eyes and meets his gaze. There is nothing predatory there, nothing demanding, only patience and something that might be hope. "I'll stay," she says. "For now." The days that follow blur into a rhythm Clara did not expect. She explores the house, discovering libraries and sitting rooms and a kitchen where the cook, a cheerful woman named Rosa, teaches her to make fresh pasta from scratch. She walks the grounds when the weather permits, breathing air that tastes cleaner than anything in the city. She reads books from the bedroom that was supposedly hers, finding dog-eared pages and margin notes in handwriting that looks hauntingly like her own. She also asks questions, endless questions, about the family business which Marcus describes with careful vagueness. Imports, investments, real estate, things that exist in the grey spaces between legal and illegal. About Daniel, whose real name is Alessandro, the younger brother who always felt overshadowed and eventually turned that resentment into destruction. About herself, the woman she was before the chemicals rewrote her mind. Marcus answers everything. His honesty is disarming. He does not pretend to be a good man. He acknowledges the violence in his world, the difficult choices he has made, the blood on his hands, but he also speaks of codes, of honor, of protecting those who cannot protect themselves. He describes a world that is morally complex rather than simply evil. Clara finds herself drawn into his orbit despite her reservations. There is something compelling about a man who knows exactly who he is and accepts it, flaws and all. After years of Daniel's gaslighting and manipulation, Marcus's brutal honesty feels like fresh water in a desert. A week passes, then two. The new year arrives quietly. No parties, no celebrations, just a glass of champagne shared by the fire while snow falls outside the windows. Clara raises her glass and tries to imagine what this year might hold. The uncertainty should terrify her. Instead, it feels strangely like freedom. One evening in mid-January, Marcus finds her in the library. She is curled in an armchair, reading a medical journal she found on her old bedside table, when he appears in the doorway. "There's something I need to tell you," he says. Clara sets down the journal. She has learned to read his expressions over the past weeks, and this one carries weight. "What is it?" "My brother knows you're here." The words drop like stones into still water. Clara feels ripples of fear spreading through her chest. "How?" "I'm not certain. He has informants everywhere. But he called this morning, made threats, demanded I return you to him." Clara rises from the chair, her mind racing. What does that mean? What happens now? Marcus crosses the room and stands before her. In the lamplight, his face is carved into sharp angles, all traces of softness gone. It means the conflict I've been trying to avoid is now inevitable. It means I have to deal with my brother once and for all. Deal with him how? By taking everything he has, his money, his connections, his power, everything he stole from me, From you. From our family. I'm going to destroy him, Clara. And then I'm going to make sure he can never hurt anyone again. Clara should be frightened. She should be running, finding a way back to her old life, putting as much distance as possible between herself and this war brewing between brothers. But she has seen enough of Marcus in these past weeks to know that he is not the monster Daniel made him out to be. And she has experienced enough of Daniel's cruelty to know that he will never stop until he gets what he wants. If she runs now, she will be running forever. "What can I do?" she asks. Marcus's eyes widen slightly. "You want to help?" "I spent 8 years as his victim. I'm done being passive. If there's a way I can contribute, I want to know." For a long moment, Marcus simply looks at her for you, then something shifts in his expression, respect perhaps, or the first stirrings of something deeper. "You were always braver than you knew," he says quietly, "even when you couldn't remember who you were." Clara holds his gaze. "Then help me remember. Help me become her again." Marcus nods slowly. "There may be a way, but it will be difficult, painful. The memories don't come back gently. They come in fragments, in waves, often triggered by intense experience. You might remember joy and love. You might also remember fear and loss. I'm not afraid," Clara says. "I've already survived the worst thing that could happen to me. Whatever comes next, I can handle it." Marcus studies her for another long moment. Then he reaches out and takes her hand, the first time he has touched her since that night in the car. "Then we begin tomorrow," he says. The process of remembering is exactly as Marcus described, difficult, painful, and utterly disorienting. He brings in doctors, specialists, people who understand how the mind stores and retrieves information. They try hypnosis, guided meditation, sensory triggers. Each session leaves Clara exhausted, her head pounding, her heart racing with emotions she cannot name. But slowly, impossibly, the memories begin to return. They come in fragments at first. A flash of color, the green of the gallery wall where they first met, the sound of Marcus's laugh, rich and warm, responding to something she cannot remember saying, the taste of wine on her lips during what might have been their first dinner together. Then larger pieces, walking through a farmer's market on a Sunday morning hand in hand, arguing about which cheese to buy, sitting on the porch of a cabin somewhere in the mountains, watching stars appear one by one as the sun set. Marcus reading to her in bed, his voice low and rhythmic, lulling her towards sleep. With each recovered memory, Clara feels herself becoming more whole. The blank spaces in her mind begin to fill, and with them comes a deeper understanding of who she was, who she is. She was not Daniel's timid wife, constantly apologizing for taking up space. She was Clara Ricci, a woman who faced the world without flinching, who loved fiercely and laughed easily and never let fear dictate her choices. She wants to be that woman again. 3 weeks into the process, she remembers the wedding. Standing before an altar in a small stone chapel, snow falling outside the windows, Marcus waiting. For her with eyes that shone with tears he was too proud to shed. She remembers the vows they wrote themselves, promises that felt as solid as the mountains surrounding them. She remembers the moment he slid the ring onto her finger and she thought, "This is the rest of my life. This is where I belong." She cries for hours after that memory surfaces, not from sadness but from grief for all the years she lost, all the experiences that were stolen, all the moments of joy that should have been hers, but were replaced with Daniel's empty promises and hollow affection. Marcus holds her through it all. He does not try to fix anything or offer platitudes. He simply sits with her, his presence steady and warm, until the tears finally subside. "I remember loving you," she tells him when she can speak again. "I remember choosing you. I remember believing we would grow old together." He presses his forehead to hers. "I never stopped loving you, even when I thought you were gone." Clara pulls back and looks into his eyes. "Then we don't let him win. Whatever it takes, we fight back." If you felt the weight of this story pressing on your heart, leave a comment saying, "Love is worth fighting for." I want to see how many of you believe that, no matter how dark things get. The war with Daniel, with Alessandro, escalates rapidly after that. Marcus has spent months building a case, gathering evidence of his brother's crimes, fraud, extortion, conspiracy, things that extend far beyond the personal betrayal that started it all. He has allies in unexpected places, a federal investigator who owes him a favor, a reporter hungry for the story of a lifetime, business partners of Alessandro who have their own reasons for wanting to see him fall. But Alessandro is not defenseless. He has his own network, his own resources, his own ruthless willingness to do whatever it takes to survive. The threats begin almost immediately. Phone calls, surveillance, attempts to isolate Marcus and Clara from anyone who might help them. Clara refuses to hide. She insists on being part of the planning, the strategy sessions, the careful chess game Marcus is playing with his brother. Her medical training proves unexpectedly useful. She can read people's physical cues, detect lies, identify weaknesses. And her 8 years living with Alessandro have given her insight into how he thinks, how he operates, what he fears. He's terrified of being exposed, she tells Marcus one evening. He's built this whole identity as a legitimate businessman. If people find out what he really is, what he's done, everything he's worked for crumbles. So we expose him publicly, Marcus says. Yes, but it has to be airtight. He's smart. He'll have backup plans, ways to spin the story. We need something he can't talk his way out of. They work together, poring over documents and recordings, building a case that will destroy Alessandro, not just legally, but socially, professionally, permanently. It is exhausting work, made more exhausting by the constant threat of discovery, the knowledge that Alessandro has eyes everywhere and will stop at nothing to protect himself. But Clara discovers something unexpected in the struggle. She discovers her own strength. The woman who emerged from her marriage with Daniel was broken, uncertain, convinced of her own inadequacy. The woman working alongside Marcus is confident, capable, unafraid. She is becoming someone she never knew she could be. One night, after a particularly productive strategy session, Clara finds herself alone with Marcus in his study. The fire has burned down to embers, and the house is quiet around them. "Can I ask you something?" she says. "Anything." "If I never remember everything, if there are gaps that never fill in, would that change how you feel about me?" Marcus looks at her for a long moment. "I fell in love with you 10 years ago. I've spent the last weeks falling in love with you all over again. You're different. Ours is stronger in some ways, harder. But the core of you, the things that made me want to spend my life with you, those haven't changed. They can't be erased." Clara moves closer to him. "I'm scared," she admits. "Not of Alessandro, not of what's coming. Scared of this. Scared of feeling something real again after spending so long believing I didn't deserve it." Marcus reaches up and cups her face in his hands. His touch is gentle, almost reverent. "You deserve everything, Clara. Everything he stole from you and more. I want to give it to you if you'll let me." Clara closes her eyes. She feels the warmth of his hands, the steadiness of his presence, the pull of something that transcends memory or chemistry or circumstance. This is not the false certainty she felt with Daniel, manufactured by drugs and manipulation. This is something older and truer, something that has survived years of separation and grief and loss. She opens her eyes and makes her choice. "Then give it to me," she says. When she kisses him, the world falls away. There is no Alessandro, no conflict, no danger. There is only this moment, this connection, this man who has waited nearly a decade for his wife to come home. Spring arrives late that year, the snow clinging stubbornly to the ground well into April. But when it finally melts, it reveals something unexpected. New life pushing up through the frozen earth, green shoots reaching toward a sun that has been absent for too long. Clara watches from the window of the bedroom that is now definitively hers. Not a guest room, not a relic of the past, but a space she has made her own. She has rearranged the furniture, added photographs from the memories she has recovered, filled the shelves with books she is slowly making her way through. It feels like home in a way her apartment in the city never did. But the peace cannot last forever. Alessandro has been quiet for too long, and Marcus is growing uneasy. He's planning something, he tells Clara. One evening. I can feel it. The silence is never good. 2 days later, the silence breaks. Clara is at the clinic. She has returned to work, unable to stay idle while her nursing license gathers dust, when her phone rings. An unknown number. She almost ignores it, but something makes her pick up. Hello, Clara. Her blood turns to ice. She would know that voice anywhere, even though she has spent months trying to forget it. Alessandro. So you remember my real name now? How touching. I see. My brother has been busy filling your head with his version of events. Clara steps into an empty examination room and closes the door. Her heart is pounding, but she keeps her voice steady. His version is the truth. Is it? And how would you know? Your memory is Swiss cheese, Clara. You believe whatever the last person told you. It's one of the things I always found charming about you. Rage rises in her chest, hot and cleansing. What do you want? What I've always wanted. You. And I'm willing to do whatever it takes to get you back. I'm not yours, Clara says. I never was, not really. We'll see about that. The line goes dead. Clara stands frozen for a long moment, the phone still pressed to her ear. Then she calls Marcus. He contacted me, she says when he answers. He's making his move. Where are you? At the clinic. Stay there. I'm sending someone to bring you home. No. The word comes out sharp, definite. I'm not running. I'm not hiding. I'm done letting him control my life. There is a pause on the other end of the line. Then Marcus says, What do you want to do? Clara thinks of everything she has learned in the past months, the memories she has recovered, the strength she has discovered, the love she has reclaimed. She thinks of Alessandro, of the way he systematically dismantled her sense of self and replaced it with something small and manageable. She thinks of all the women before her, all the people he has used and discarded, all the damage he has caused without consequence. I want to end this, she says, once and for all. The plan comes together quickly. Marcus has been building toward this moment for months, assembling resources and allies, creating contingencies for every possible scenario. But Clara's confrontation with Alessandro adds urgency to everything. They cannot afford to wait anymore. The strategy is complex, but elegant. They will expose Alessandro at a charity gala he is hosting, a public event filled with the elite of Chicago society, people whose good opinion he desperately needs. The evidence will be presented simultaneously to law enforcement, media outlets, and his most important business partners. By the time the night is over, his reputation will be in ruins, his assets frozen, his empire crumbling around him. But there is a complication. He'll see it coming, Clara says during the final planning session. He knows we're coming for him. He'll be watching for any sign of attack. Which is why we need a distraction, Marcus says. Something that will keep his attention focused elsewhere while we make our move. Clara takes a deep breath. I'll do it. The room goes silent. Marcus's expression darkens. Absolutely not. Listen to me. He wants me. He's obsessed with getting me back. If I show up at the gala, if I pretend to be interested in reconciliation, he won't be able to resist. He'll be so focused on winning that he won't notice anything else. It's too dangerous. Everything about this is dangerous, but I'm the only one who can get close enough to make it work. Marcus opens his mouth to argue, but Clara holds up her hand. This is my choice, my life. He took 8 years from me. I'm not letting him take anything else. The gala is held in early May in a historic ballroom downtown. Crystal chandeliers cast warm light over crowds of elegantly dressed guests, and music from a live orchestra drifts through the air. It is a beautiful setting for what is about to become Alessandro's worst nightmare. Clara arrives alone, wearing a green dress that matches her eyes and a smile that reveals nothing of the turmoil underneath. She spots Alessandro almost immediately. He is holding court near the bar, surrounded by admirers, his charm turned up to full wattage. Their eyes meet across the room. For a moment, everything stops. Clara sees the calculation in his gaze, the quick assessment of threat and opportunity. She sees him decide, in that instant, that she is there, for him, that she has finally come to her senses. He excuses himself from his companions and crosses the room toward her. Clara. His voice is warm, intimate, the voice of a man greeting his beloved. I knew you'd come back to me. She forces herself to hold his gaze. I needed to see you, to talk, to understand why you did what you did. And Marcus let you come here alone? Marcus doesn't control me. No one does. Alessandro smiles, and for a moment, he is the man she fell in love with all those years ago. Handsome, charming, apparently devoted. That's what I always admired about you. Your independence, your fire. Then why did you try to destroy it? His smile falters slightly. I didn't destroy anything. I gave you a life, Clara. A good life. Better than you would have had with my brother. A life built on lies. All lives are built on lies. The only question is whose lies you choose to believe. Clara feels the tiny receiver in her ear crackle to life. Marcus's voice, barely audible. We're in position, keep him talking. She takes a step closer to Alessandro. What if I wanted to start over? What if I was willing to forget the past and try again? His eyes light up with triumph. I would welcome that. I never wanted to lose you, Clara. Everything I did because I loved you. Prove it. How? Tell me the truth. All of it. Every lie you told. Every manipulation. If you can be honest with me now, maybe we can find a way forward. Alessandro studies her. For a long moment, she can see him weighing the risks, calculating the angles. Finally, he nods. Come with me. Somewhere we can talk privately. Clara's heart pounds as she follows him through the crowd, away from the main ballroom, down a corridor lined with portraits of wealthy benefactors. They enter a small study, and Alessandro closes the door behind them. Now we can speak freely, he says. What do you want to know? Clara reaches into her clutch and pulls out a small device, a recorder. Marcus gave her before the gala. She sets it on the desk between them. I want you to say it all, she says, on the record, so I can be sure you're not lying. Alessandro laughs. You think a recording will make any difference? I have lawyers, Clara. The best money can buy. Anything I say can be explained away, recontextualized, dismissed. Maybe. But let's see. She holds his gaze, unflinching, until he shrugs. Fine. You want the truth? Here it is. I used a substance on you that erased your memory and made you susceptible to suggestion. I invented a history for us, convinced you that we had met and fallen in love like normal people. I married you under a false name and spent 8 years keeping you away from my brother. Why? Because Marcus had everything. The family, the power, the respect, and you. You were the only thing he valued more than the empire, and I wanted to take that from him, to make him suffer the way I had suffered my entire life, living in his shadow. Clara forces herself to stay calm to keep him talking. And now, what do you want now? Alessandro moves closer. I want you back, not because of Marcus. That feud is old news. I want you because you're the only woman I've ever met who challenged me, who wasn't afraid of me, who made me feel something besides contempt for the rest of humanity. His hand reaches for her face, and every instinct screams at her to pull away. But she holds still. I could make you forget again, he whispers. Start. Fresh? Build something new without all the baggage of the past. Clara feels her stomach turn. You would do that? Wipe my mind again? If it meant having you, yes, in a heartbeat. She pulls away from him now, unable to maintain the pretense any longer. You're sick. Alessandro's expression hardens. I'm practical. The world is full of weak people who let sentiment rule their decisions. I refuse to be one of them. The door bursts open. Marcus stands in the doorway, flanked by two federal agents. Behind them, Clara can see the chaos erupting in the main ballroom. The gala has been shut down, guests are being herded toward the exits, and a team of investigators is already moving through the building. "Alessandro Ricci," one of the agents says, "you're under arrest for fraud, conspiracy, and illegal administration of controlled substances." Alessandro's face contorts with rage. He wheels on Clara. "You set me up." "No." Clara retrieves the recorder and holds it up. "You set yourself up. Every word you just said is going to be played for a jury, and for every newspaper and website in the country. Your reputation, your empire, your freedom. It's all over." For a moment she thinks he might lunge at her, but the agents are already moving, restraining him, reading his rights. Alessandro's eyes never leave Clara's face as they drag him from the room. "This isn't over," he hisses. "I will make you pay for this." Clara watches him go. Her hands are shaking, her heart is racing, and tears are streaming down her face. But when Marcus wraps his arms around her and holds her close, she realizes something extraordinary. She is not afraid anymore. The trial takes 3 months. The evidence is overwhelming. Not just the recording Clara obtained, but years of financial crimes, witness testimonies, and documentation that Marcus's team has assembled. Alessandro's lawyers try every trick in the book, but the walls close in relentlessly. Clara testifies. It is one of the hardest things she has ever done, sitting in that witness box, facing the man who stole 8 years of her life, describing in clinical detail exactly what he did to her. But she does not waver, does not break, does not let him see even a moment of the fear that used to define her relationship with him. When the verdict comes, guilty on all counts, she feels something release inside her. A tension she has been carrying for so long she forgot it was there. A weight that has finally been lifted. The summer that follows is quiet, healing. Clara and Marcus return to the house by the lake, to the rooms where she once lived a life she could not remember. But now she remembers. Not everything. There are still gaps, moments lost forever to the chemicals Alessandro used. But enough to know who she is, who she loves, and who she wants to become. They remarry in September, in the same small chapel where they wed 10 years ago. The ceremony is simple: close friends, family, vows that carry the weight of everything they have survived. "I promise to protect you," Marcus says, his voice rough with emotion, "not by keeping you safe from the world, but by standing beside you as you face it. I promise to love you, the woman you were, the woman you are, the woman you will become." Clara takes his hands. "I promise to trust you," she says, "to believe in you, to never let fear steal from us again. I promise to build a life with you. Not the life we lost, but something new, something better, something that belongs only to us." When they kiss, the small crowd cheers. Through the windows, autumn light spills in, warm and golden, illuminating the tears on Clara's cheeks. December arrives with the first snow of the season, soft flakes drifting down from a pale grey sky. Clara stands by the window of the bedroom she shares with Marcus, watching the grounds transform into a winter wonderland. It has been exactly 1 year since she signed those divorce papers, alone and broken, convinced that happiness was something she would never find. How wrong she was. Behind her, Marcus stirs in the bed. "Come back," he murmurs, his voice thick with sleep. "It's cold without you." Clara smiles and crosses the room to rejoin him. He wraps his arms around her, pulling her close, and she settles into the warmth of his embrace. "I was thinking," she says. "Dangerous," she laughs softly. "I was thinking about last Christmas, about how lost I was, about how I couldn't imagine anything ever getting better." Marcus presses a kiss to her hair. "And now? Now I can't imagine anything being more right." They lie together in comfortable silence, watching the snow fall outside the window. Somewhere in the house, Rosa is singing in the kitchen, preparing what will undoubtedly be an elaborate holiday breakfast. Elena is already coordinating the decorations, transforming the great hall into something out of a fairy tale. This house, which once felt like a remnant of a life she couldn't remember, now feels like home. These people who were strangers a year ago are now family. And Marcus is everything she spent 8 years searching for without knowing what she was looking for. "I have something for you," he says. Clara props herself up on one elbow. "It's not Christmas yet. Consider it an early gift." He reaches into the nightstand drawer and withdraws a small velvet box. Clara's breath catches as he opens it to reveal a ring. Not the wedding band she wears on her left hand, but something else. A band of emeralds set in white gold, each stone catching the winter light. "10 years ago, I gave you a locket with an emerald because it matched your eyes," Marcus says. "Today, I'm giving you this. 1 stone for each year we were apart. 10 years of loving you from a distance, hoping against hope that somehow, someday, we would find our way back to each other." Clara blinks back tears. "It's beautiful. Not as beautiful as you." He takes her hand and slides the ring onto her right hand. "I want you to wear this as a reminder that no matter what the world throws at us, our love survives, that we survived." Clara looks at the ring, at the emeralds sparkling in the soft morning light, at the man who has given her back her past and built with her a future. She thinks of everything they have been through, the manipulation, the separation, the war with his brother, the slow process of remembering and healing. She thinks of the woman she was a year ago, broken and hopeless, signing away a marriage that was never real. That woman is gone now. In her place is someone stronger, braver, more whole. Someone who has learned that the worst things in life can sometimes lead to the best. Someone who has discovered that love, true love, is not about never being hurt. It is about finding someone worth fighting for. "Merry Christmas," Marcus whispers. Clara leans in and kisses him, soft and slow and full of promise. "Merry Christmas," she whispers back. Later that day, they gather in the great hall with the staff who have become family. Rosa serves a feast that could feed an army. Elena organizes the gift exchange with military precision. There is laughter, warmth, the particular joy that comes from being surrounded by people who care. Clara stands by the enormous Christmas tree, watching Marcus joke with the security team, and feels her heart expand to hold all of it. The lights, the music, the voices raised in celebration, the snow falling softly outside, the sense of belonging that she spent so many years searching for. She remembers suddenly that cold apartment a year ago, the wine that tasted like defeat, the divorce papers that felt like the end of everything. She remembers the pain, the loneliness, the conviction that she would never be happy again. How strange life is, she thinks, how capable it is of surprise. A year ago, she was crying over the end of a marriage to a man who never loved her. Today she is celebrating Christmas with the man who loved her all along, who never stopped searching for her, who never gave up hope. A year ago, she signed divorce papers believing they were her final chapter. Today, she understands that they were actually her first, the beginning of a story she never could have imagined. Some endings, she realizes now, are really beginnings in disguise. Marcus catches her eye across the room and smiles. It is a smile full of love, full of history, full of the life they are building together. Clara smiles back and feels the last of her old self, the frightened, diminished woman Daniel tried to create, slip away forever. She is Clara Ricci, wife, survivor, healer, partner. She is a woman who walked through the fire and emerged stronger. A woman who lost everything and found something better. A woman who signed divorce papers on Christmas and discovered, in that act of ending, the key to her true beginning. The snow keeps falling.